Thanks, Andy.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Mike. Mike, you can do your introduction after your presentation.
So before I kind of introduce myself, I'd like to get a better understanding of who I'm speaking to.
No problem.
So how many of you are entrepreneurs? I assume most of you. And how many of you that are entrepreneurs also have full-time employment or other employment? Okay, so many of you are entrepreneurs and focused on what you're doing. How many of you are tech entrepreneurs? Okay, so a good number of you. How many of you are non-tech, manufacturing, service-based companies? 2 or 3 or 4, okay. And finally, how many of you will be looking to raise capital of any kind in the next year or 2? Okay, so maybe half, or some of you, maybe half of you. Okay, so what I just wanted to make sure that the presentation that I give tonight is relevant. I wasn't entirely sure who I would be speaking to other than a group of entrepreneurs. It's an honor to be here with you. I have to tell you, I myself was an entrepreneur, am an entrepreneur. I've owned 7 Michigan businesses. One of my goals is to be the longest living or slowest dying Lions fan. This year was a mixed bag. I died for a while and then I lived a little bit. But I founded 7 companies in Michigan. I've raised 12 million plus for my own companies. I've had, I own 4 companies concurrently in the real estate business. Mortgage, title, my owner. It was a high-tech startup to start and evolve into a high-tech, high-touch business model with 300 employees and operations in 9 markets and customers in 50 states. So it was a very complex business as it turned out. It was supposed to be a very simple, click business, and didn't work out that way. And that was in 1999 when the internet just really started. And it was really the tech growth and then the tech burst. And I was involved in that, the whole IPO craze that existed back then. Many of you are too young to probably remember that. I'm currently a capital strategist and advisor I have my own firm called AmeriAdvise. And I was a licensed broker-dealer in the state for several years after I sold my companies. And I'm now a capital strategist for Open University. That was mentioned earlier. Macomb-OU, INCubator, which are 2 incubator smart zones. I'm the capital strategist for all of Open County under L. Brooks Patterson's group, Greg Doyle's group, called One Stop. And I also collaborate, and I'm a screener judge for the Macomb Community College Innovate Fund, which I'll tell you a little bit about in just a bit. What I do primarily privately is strategic visioning, business planning, valuations, pro forma development, and offerings for private companies looking to raise capital. I've helped to raise about $200 million privately for companies, the largest raise being $10 million. So most of my clients tend to be early stage, Series A. You've raised some money, you're growing, you've got some revenues, and now you need your next stage capital. I'm also working with Oakland County to develop a new fund, which would be not a startup fund, but a very early stage fund, kind of a private equity structure with a hedge mentality. It'll be about a $100 million fund that'll be sponsored by Oakland County and the state of Michigan. Pretty excited about that because there is no fund that exists like that. And for entrepreneurs like you folks, that's the hardest money to find. And that's the business I've been in for several years because I'm glutton for punishment. And so that's a little bit about me. There are several things to keep in mind. I'd like to start by telling you just a very brief story about my history. When I first started my company in 1999, I raised $2 million in 20 minutes from a very wealthy investor who committed to buy several units of equity in my company, primarily because I made a good presentation and my COO was the son of his best friend. So a lot of wrong choices to start. I picked my COO based on a relationship, not on skill set, and I thought it would lead to capital, and it did. It also led to misery. In 12 weeks, after raising several $1 million, we burned through $2.5 or $3 million. The website was not working. We were not getting the retention. We were getting the visitation through the ads and marketing that we were doing, but we weren't getting the conversion. It wasn't working. And so all of the research and all the work that we had done to prepare, and we were stuck. A lot of sleepless nights, met with investors in a room like this, a group of 30 investors, the board of directors, and an investor stood up in the back of the room and said, when do we cut our losses and get out of this thing? And I knew then that I was up against it. And so I told him that if he worked for me, I'd fire him. And it's a good thing he didn't work for me, and that we were going to make it and we were going to survive. And then I left and asked my team how we were going to do that. And so what we did is we completely reinvented ourselves and grew at an 1,800% clip year on year for 5 years. We grew the company to roughly $40 million in revenues. And then we got hit again when the economy started to go backwards. And we had to completely reinvent ourselves a second time. If any of you as entrepreneurs believe that you're just going to figure it out and always make the right next choice and never be faced with obstacles or troubles, I can tell you firsthand, it's not going to happen. I'm also here to tell you that there are no obstacles that you can't overcome, and that you can succeed regardless of what anybody tells you. You got to check yourself, and you have to be introspective and make sure that you're right. You listen to others, but you have to feel your business, and you have to really have a sense of whether or not you can be successful, and then stay focused and move through that. I'm going to show you how to do that. The first thing is what I call a post-funding mentality. Again, this applies to folks when you're ready to start to raise capital. Post-funding mentality is to say, if you wake up every day and you say to yourselves, imagine what I could do if I only had the money to do it, you are destined to fail. You will be a statistic. If instead you wake up every day and you say to yourselves, what can I do today to improve my business, to improve the position of my business relative to capital investors, then money will find you. It becomes a byproduct of that process. Okay, so it's very important. The most important thing I'll share with you today is that when you start to look for capital, too often entrepreneurs get mired in the capital raise process and forget that they're growing a business. And you can't do that. Secondly, an elevator pitch. My guess is if I went around the room and I asked you who you were, what you did, how you did it, what made you different, where you're headed, how you're going to get there, and what you need to get there, you would probably have a hard time doing that in 30 seconds or less. So developing a cohesive 30-second pitch, who you are, what you do, what makes you different, where you're going, and how you're going to get there is critically important. Additionally, you should be evangelizing that to everybody every day, not just in the coffee shop, not just with other entrepreneurs, but with your parents, with your brothers and sisters, with your wives or spouses, whomever, friends, anybody. Why? People at church. Everybody and anybody. Why? Because we live in a society where we want to help each other. I'm here because I want to help you. You're here because you want to get help and help others. Anybody in the room not like to help people? This guy back there. So imagine that. So the bottom line is when you evangelize your business and you do it well, you'll be surprised at the help that's around you. Money is everywhere. Help is everywhere. Customers, partners, introductions. It's all around you. So it's up to you to evangelize your business. Be very careful about falling into that entrepreneur trap of focusing on your business and waking up every day and living in your reality. You have to make sure that others are sharing in your reality in order for you to be successful. It's very important. Next is a one-page executive summary with all the information about your business, and I'm going to share with you how to do that. Business plan, no matter where you are in process, even as a startup entrepreneur, you should have a vision statement and a business model established. It can change, but you should know what it is. too often I see entrepreneurs that start a business, they're headed in one direction, and then they veer off of that path and start to maybe generate revenues, which is great, but they're picking up dimes and stepping over dollars. They lose focus for what their core business was intended to be. So I'm gonna give you some tips there tonight. A succinct investor presentation that you should be able to give in 5 minutes or 90 minutes. Same presentation. Okay, I'm gonna show you that very quickly. In addition to that, when you look to start to raise capital, the first place you should look to, in my view, is an incubator. Macomb-OU, OU Inc. Incubators like that. Why? Because there are experts there that have experience and that can help you to understand what you're doing. The last thing you should do is go to an attorney. Now, I'm not anti-attorney, but attorneys are trained to protect you and themselves. And so what will happen is if you go to an attorney, you say, I need to raise money, the first thing they'll talk to you about is the documents that you need that you should pay for. All these documents that you see, the only one you need is a term sheet. That's it. Until you have a commitment from an investor, there's no need to put together an offering memorandum or a subscription agreement if it's a convertible debenture, whatever the offering is. Very often the offering will change. Suddenly you have a strategic investor that wants to invest and you spent $15,000 for nothing. So a term sheet that expresses the terms is really all you need. Don't spend a whole bunch of money on legal expenses. In the state of Michigan, we have, of course, the Obama Jobs Act, but also
Oh, sorry, we're going to be opening the garage, so we don't want to interrupt you.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Okay.
I'll just keep talking. And we have what's called the MILE Act, which is the Michigan Invest Locally Act. The Michigan Invest Locally Act allows you to effectively raise money like you would through a crowdfunding portal. Effectively, anyone driving down Woodward Avenue can be an investor in your company up to $1 million virtually for you. So there are some really wonderful advantages for entrepreneurs in this market. I'm happy to expand on any of this with any of you at any time. Following this, we can set up a time to meet and I'll be happy to help you. Let me show you very quickly some executive summary examples that I shared with you earlier. Anytime I put together an executive summary, I can hand it to one of my kids, and in 20 minutes, they can tell me everything about the company. If they can't do that in 20 minutes, then the executive summary is no good. Multi-page executive summaries are a thing of the past. So what you look, this applies to anyone, a bank, a private investor, a private equity fund, VC, hedge, doesn't matter. On the left-hand panel, what you see is, I know it's hard to see from here, but vision statement or about us, key leadership and qualities, industry served, key differentiators, the ask and contact information here about the business model, 1, 2, 3, 4, primary advantages, key success factors, accomplishments, exit strategies, and 5-year pro forma on a single page. Okay? Here's a different company, same format, different result, and yet again, 3 very different and distinct companies, and the same format used for all 3. Okay? So if we set up a time to meet, and I know I can trust you not to share information about private companies with others, I'd be happy to share this kind of stuff with you. What I'd like to do now is, I'm not going to go through a full business plan example. Again, what I said earlier was, no matter where you are in process, you should at least have the makings or the start of a business plan. Okay? A business plan is a roadmap. You wouldn't build a house without a plan. You wouldn't even probably do landscaping without a plan. You certainly can't or shouldn't think about building a successful business without a plan. It's just not a smart thing to do, in my view. Okay? So this is an example. This is a high-tech company in Southfield called Pixo. They're a digital media company. They've got SaaS models and standalone mobile applications. They've developed what's called like the Pixo Vault, which is like a Lego set of code that they can plug together and at a fraction of the cost build mobile applications for corporations. And they've done that for very big brands, Harman Kardon and others. So in this plan, when we put it together, there's some key attributes. Now, again, I'll be happy to share this with you later. Some of this is going to go pretty quickly. Confidentiality agreement's not really a confidentiality agreement. It says if you're serious about investing in my company, take the plan. If not, please give it back to me because it costs $50 to print it. What I showed you earlier was an e-summary. Summaries should never be printed. That's your electronic communication piece. But a business plan should always be printed. It's very difficult to read a business plan online, and I don't think it's a smart thing to do to have your business plan floating around the internet. I think it's very unwise to do that. Even if you have IP, that is patents or trademarks, copyrights, doesn't matter. Your business plan should be printed and on the desk of whoever it is that's considering your plan. So that's what that does. Plan contents about the company, all of the financials and information, competitive landscape and other supporting information, and then of course exhibits and other information is very important. Vision, mission, and commitment. Okay. Your business strategy. This is just an example. This is one page. The business strategy section for this company is about 10 pages long. What exactly are we going to do with the money, and how are we going to do it? A high-level corporate model. How are you structured? What will the company? Are you going to acquire other companies? What is it? How is it the company structured? This is very complicated in the sense that they've got mobile and gaming and SaaS models and a licensing or franchise model. But nonetheless, if you have a corporate structure that involves more than one company, then you should illustrate that. A business model, very important to illustrate your business model. I spoke to this earlier. All of you could do this right now. What are your needs or inputs? Who are your strategic partners that are in influencers or those that your business will influence? What are your products and offerings? What are your core competencies? How are you going to sell into the market? And who is the market that you're trying to get after? So on a single page, you can illustrate all of that. And by the way, once you've done that, what you'll find is that there is capital all around you. Partners and manufacturers in the manufacturing business. There may be distributors who may want to be an exclusive international distributor and may also want to invest in your company. If you're a high-tech company, who does your company influence? And how might partnering with them help you get to the next level, right? So a strategic partnership or joint venture is a very simple agreement to put together. Major corporations in the United States put together JVs on a single page and exchange hundreds of millions of dollars through such a format. So achieving that is not outside the realm of possibility. It happens every day. How it works, how you do what you do. It's very important to express that and illustrate that very clearly. What is your marketing and growth strategy? What are the marketing analytics and analysis? What other considerations or market trends should we consider? How the company will scale and grow, in this case, a franchise model. What are the future milestones? How you value the company. The key thing to remember here is when you sell a car or you buy a car, how many of you wouldn't check to see what the average value of the car is in the market? Well, of course you would, right? So if you're going to buy a car, sell a car, or anything that you buy or sell, you always know what the value of that is. The same is true of your business. If you go into a discussion with an investor about raising money for your company and you haven't done or had done a professional evaluation of your company, then you're likely to get raped with a K. Okay. Right? So I think it's important to understand that because there are many calculators that you can use. If you're a high-tech company, you're in great shape. If you can demonstrate that you can grow, and if we were in Silicon Valley, you would be stunned at the multiples that companies are getting. 40 times, 45 times. It's outrageous what's happening right now in tech. Okay? If you're a non-tech company, there are traditional calculators that you can use. Public comparables, PE multiple, VC pricing, methodology, EBITDA analysis, or EBITDA plus, a discounted cash flow, and all of these calculators can be applied, even if you're pre-revenue. The idea is to arrive at a means or average valuation for your year one value, apply that to your offering, and now you've got a starting point for discussion with investors. Okay? Show me what the organization is going to look like, not now, but 2 years from now, 3 years from now. Whenever that inflection point is, you're going to use my capital, you're going to grow the company. Once you get to where you expect your vision for the company to be, show me what that's going to look like. Exit strategies, always more than one. How many of you knew that a pre-revenue tech company could go public? There are direct public offerings, alternative public offerings, reverse mergers, all kinds of ways for companies to go public. In fact, you could put together a private placement memorandum and sell that to investors, get a stock symbol, and it becomes tradable public shares for those investors. Is that common? No, but it does happen. I took a company public called Panther Technology about 4 years ago. You can find them online, Panther Technologies. They're struggling to raise capital. Once we put together that process, they were able to raise capital very quickly. Now, if you're not going to be successful, if you're unable to achieve the success that you think you can, it's a bad place to be. You don't want to be in the public markets wallowing in nowhere's land. You're going to get sold short, and bad things are going to happen. But hey, you know what? It's a method to consider. The reason I bring this up is as a means to exit the company. Going public is certainly one of them. You don't have to get to 25 or 30 million in revenues to go public. If you're going to talk about being acquired by a larger company as a means to exit, then you better be prepared to tell me when. What's the inflection point? Who would you hire? Who might the acquirers or suitors be? So you want to be very prepared. In 1999, I was able to raise money very quickly. None of you will have that advantage. That's just not the reality of the way the world works today. We're not in an IPO level where investors just expect to get rich and are investing based on greed. They're investing, the good news for you is that investors have really curtailed their expectations. Many investors in different sectors, from angel investors to VCs and private equity, have kind of reduced their expectations. They understand the difficulties in the market, the international markets, the unpredictability. So what used to be a demand for a 10 times return in private equity today might be 3 to 4 times. You know, VCs focus on certain sectors, but even they're moving upstream and establishing funds of funds. Invest Detroit's a great example of a fund. They've got multiple funds. I was just there on Monday, meeting with a gentleman over there talking about their Detroit Innovate Fund, which is a wonderful fund. And so there are many different types of funds, and the expectations, if you are different for each. However, if you build your plan and your business first for yourselves and your vision, but then secondly to the investor and what their expectations will be, you're likely to be successful. So the sooner you start to think about how to merge those two worlds together, the better. So working with experts that understand how to help you do that and to help you to identify what the obstacles are going to be, I think is going to be very important for you. This is a list. These are the final 2 pages. What I've done here is I've assembled kind of a list of different strategies. I'd like to funding sources. I'd like to hit on just a couple of these. Friends and family is so often overlooked, and I mentioned this earlier about the MILE Act in the state of Michigan. You don't have to belong to a crowdfunding site like Kickstarter to raise money in a crowdfunding format. You can raise money from friends and family at $5,000 a piece or $1,000 a piece. Pull them together in an LLC and have it show up on your cap table as just one investor. It's perfectly legal. You don't really need much paperwork to do it, and it is a very good way to do it. In other words, parties and events like this, where you literally could raise capital and people can participate, very low investments. So if you're a startup and you're looking to raise 25 or 50,000, you put together a good presentation and make your baby pretty, then you'll have a pretty good opportunity to do that. And so I know that's pretty thin, but it's in terms of the explanation, I could talk on that subject for an entire day. But it's important to understand that it's something to think about that you can do. We lead the state through the OU incubators and grant funding. If you have a tech company and a good story, you might be eligible to apply for what's called the Business Accelerator Fund, which is sponsored by the SBDC, Small Business Technology Center. And we have the highest percentage of grants submitted and approved in the state by far. And so it's not a slam dunk process. It does take a little bit of time. We have to put together an application, which is like a mini business plan. But if you want to talk to me about it and find out whether you qualify or not, I'll be happy to help you to do that. That's up to $50,000, typically incremental in $10,000 to $15,000 increments, but it can be more. MIC was just now, I think, taken over by the Michigan Women's Foundation. If you have poor credit, which many of us do, after the, economy, tanked, and many of you are entrepreneurs without full-time employment. If you have poor credit, that doesn't mean you're unable to get money. The MIC is one of those companies that says if you've been denied by banks for credit, for investment, that's a good place to apply, especially for minority-owned or women-owned businesses. It's a very good place to go, and that's up to $50,000 in assistance. I really don't know very much about them, but I know that they're doing good things, and so it may be worth contacting them if that makes sense for you. There are many different types of loans that you can apply for that I'd be happy to share more with you about that are sponsored through the state. The Macomb Community College Innovate Fund is $25,000 grant. That's their A type of fund. And then their B fund is $100,000 interest-free for 3 years. So wonderful program. And it's intended for folks like you, early stage companies. It's run by Darren Lepnik. You can find that online. If you just Google Macomb Community College Innovate Fund, you'll see that. They'll be taking applications again in a quarter, and they'll help you to prepare to present. So that's $25,000 or $100,000 investment. The $25,000 is a grant. The $100,000 is an interest-free loan for 3 years, and then you start to pay it back after that. Invest Detroit, I mentioned earlier. They have many funds, but the ones that I particularly focus on are First Step, which is between $50,000 and $150,000, and Detroit Innovate, which is up to $500,000, I believe. It's a venture fund, but they'll do convertible debentures, which is really convertible debt. It starts as a debt instrument and then converts to equity at the prerogative of the investor. It's a very, very smart structure for early stage companies, and again, I'll be happy to help you to understand more about that. There's a pre-seed capital fund, which I'm not going to get a lot into. Crowdfunding has evolved a lot, and it's very sector specific now. So if you're in healthcare, you should look at Healthios Exchange. If you're a consumer products, you should be looking at Circula. So I can help you more to understand, where to go if you want to look at crowdfunding and how to prepare for that, and kind of the ins and outs and what to expect. There are also, of course, angel networks through Gus.com and Angel.co. That is syndicated financing. If you get one investor to buy in, again, you only have one investor that shows up in your cap table, and they syndicate funding for you within their groups, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, there's Accelerate Michigan and GLEQ, which many of you are probably already familiar with. Those are contest-based funding processes. Is it okay for me to continue here for a couple minutes?
Go ahead.
Okay. Is everybody okay with this? There's a venture match program. If you're fortunate enough to raise $700,000 to $1 million in venture capital, the state can match your investment up to $500,000. That program might be dead or dying, but today it's alive, I think. And so that's a pretty interesting program, because so often when private equity gets involved in early stage companies, they want to syndicate it. They don't want to take all of the risk. And so for the state of Michigan to come in and be a partner in that is a pretty big deal. Private equity and venture capital, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on with you, except to say that if you have a tech company that has real growth potential, you can get interest at a very early stage from companies like RPM, Bell Capital, and others that will take a look at you. Commercial working line, SBA, look at Dodd-Frank has effectively destroyed community lending. But there are still banks that are very entrepreneurial and will help early stage companies. Fifth Third, Huntington. Huntington made a commitment to the state of Michigan to invest $1 billion in SBA in 2014, and they met that. So Huntington, Fifth Third, Palmer, Independence Bank, these are good banks with good people. They have their SBA officers internally, which is a key thing for you. If you think you can qualify for SBA, work with a bank that has SBA offices inside. If you call the feds that run the SBA and ask them about SBA, they don't even know their own programs. So work with the banks that administer the loans and take the risk, and that's your best bet. Purchase order, receivable, and inventory financing. If any of you need that, please do talk to me. I'll probably save you a lot of money and time looking at alternative sources. There's a collateral match program in the state. If you have an asset-based business, you're buying real estate or inventory, that kind of a thing, the state has a collateral match program where they'll match up to 50% or 49.9% of a loan, up to $5 million. And so if you don't have quite the collateral to support, say, a growth manufacturing company, we may be able to use a collateral match program to help support that and make that loan a reality. And then, of course, there's the SBR and STTR. Many people are not aware that there are federal grants that are available. There's a BBC. You can find them online at bbcetc.com. I'm sorry, yeah, it is .com now. And it used to be an org. And the BBC will help to guide you through SBIR or STTRs. These are federal grants and loans. We work with several companies through the university incubators that have received millions of dollars in grants through the federal government to support their programs. It might be good for you to know that more than half of these grants and loans are awarded to companies with fewer than 10 employees. So most federal grant money goes to very small companies that are very early in their development. It has to be a fit, but if it is a fit, it can be done. And then, of course, there are many other programs. Grow Michigan, the collateral support I already mentioned, emerging technology funds, all kinds of different funds. You can find that online through michiganbusiness.org startup /capital. That site's not very well kept up. If you'd like to know more about what funds are available and what sources might be available or smart for you to pursue, I'd be happy to help you with that. And then, of course, there's the michiganvca.org, very helpful people. This is the Michigan Venture Capital Association, and you can get a hold of them, and I'm sure they'll be happy to guide you once you are in a position to do that. I guess I'd like to summarize or conclude by saying that, raising capital is not kind of a one-shot deal. Typically, when you're raising capital for a company, you're raising seed money from friends and family, maybe a few $1,000s or up to $100,000. Then maybe grant funding through the state of Michigan. Then maybe a loan through an Invest Detroit or First Step Fund. Then maybe Detroit Innovate Fund or Pre-Seed Capital Fund before you go to VC or private equity. So it is a kind of a capital stack is what we refer to it as, that helps the company through its different stages to meet milestones. And then as you meet those benchmarks and milestones, you're raising the valuation, awareness of your company. You become a known entity, first in your community, in the entrepreneurial community, and then also to investors by extension. So it is a process. If you envision raising capital down the line, then you're already in that process. It's already important that you start to think about what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, and start to build your company toward those targets. Okay? And to understand what the resources from strategic to private equity might be available to you and the right kinds of funds for you to pursue. Okay? I think that's my last slide. Yep. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Yes, sir.
Where can one get that list?
Well, you can just email me. If you want to write down my email address, it's mike@ameradvise.com. That's AMER, as in America, advise with an S, ADVISE.com. If you send me an email and just tell me that you met me here, I'll be happy to share any information that I've shared tonight. I wouldn't be able to share the private company information without their permission. We'd have to meet first to do that. And there's no charge. I'm not going to charge them. We meet at the incubator for an hour, and there's no charge. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm not really an entrepreneur, but you raised the question. What you're basically saying is that you really need to have a lot of expertise and get your stuff together, and you might not have a business MBA or something like that to know all this stuff. So if an entrepreneur has a wonderful idea, but they just didn't happen to spend 10 years in business school, where is the best source to get this kind of information so that they know what's on top, they know what they need to know, but they have to get the knowledge up here before they can start doing the stuff?
So if you're in the city of Detroit, there's, what's the incubator called in Detroit? No, not this. Yeah, Tech Town. If you're in Oakland County, there's the Oakland County Development Office, or Oakland University Incubator, or the Macomb-OU Incubator. That's where I would start. I think it's important for any entrepreneur to take the time to visit an incubator, and you can, by the way, there is no geographical restriction. If you live in Detroit but you want to work with the Oakland County incubators, you can do that. I think it's important to do that because if you're incubating a business and evolving it for yourself, and you envision that one day you may need capital to really get it to the next level, you're already behind. It's already important to understand what your options will be, what the requirements are going to be, and how to go about doing that so that you can kind of rearrange your strategic vision, if you will, to meet some of those objectives that allow you to meet your goals.
I know somebody that's active in one of the incubators in Tech Town, and he actually mentors people in business to help them go through the steps.
Yeah, that's what I do.
And it's basically free.
That's right.
So this guy's been there, done there, and he's helping somebody else go through the steps.
That's what I do. When I worked for an advertising company for years and years and years, and I was making lots of money and playing golf 3 days a week, and I was miserable. Doing what I do now is the happiest I've ever been. It is a thrill to me to work with entrepreneurs and to help companies to evolve. And so, we're happy to do that. That's what the incubators are here for. Now, if you join an incubator, there is a cost, but it's very small. It's maybe $1,000 in a year. Other questions? Wow, was that informative?
Can you put the email again?
Yeah, Mike at Ameriadvise.com. Ameriadvise.com. And please don't be afraid. Even if you're at the idea stage, with many of you may be, that's okay. That's the right time to share your idea and with folks that see companies like yours every day and see what comes back and how we might be able to help you. Okay? All right. Well, it's great to meet you all. Thanks for having me.
How informative was that? So Mike does come with a lot of experience. So as you can see, there's a lot of not only value added that you mentioned, but I think that there's a lot of activities and events that are coming down the road. Just because this is January of the new year, there's so many activities that come down. I mean, you mentioned JLQ, ACE is another one, and I know there in the next couple of weeks there are a lot of pitch competition. And if you guys are even having the slightest idea of sharing your business model, I mean, the end of the years tend to be the best time to kind of look at these events because they kind of come up really quickly in the first quarter of the new year. So look out for that. We're going to be sharing some of the network events that are going on later as we wrap up the meeting. But right now I'm going to turn it over. We only have two presenters tonight. So I'm going to turn this over to Barry McDonald. Barry, how do you come up here and get the thing set up? So pretty much Barry has an app that lets shoppers earn donations for their favorite charities while shopping for the things they want to buy. So pretty much this is kind of something unique. And are you ready? All right.
You got to plug the HDMI back into the Apple TV. I can give you that. laptop and plug it back in again? Oh, Don, thank you. I thought you were going to hand me your phone. I was going to take that.
Good?
Sounds good.
All right, good afternoon, everybody, or Happy New Year, I should say. It's a new year. Just got to remember to start writing 2016 on my checks and everything else. But I'm Barry McDonald. I'm the founder of a company called Try to See, Inc. Try to See develops small gifts, and small gifts is what I'm going to talk about today. Small gifts, basically, the purpose is it allows shoppers to raise money for their charities as they shop with local businesses. Now, the problem we're trying to solve is this. It really is a two-sided problem. One, we see that small local businesses, are in desperate need for customers, right? They're always looking for ways of bringing people in, foot traffic. That's the way small local businesses, that's their lifeblood. At the same time, we have a lot of local nonprofits and charities that struggle to raise money. You hear about, the big boys, right? The American Heart, breast cancer. Those get a lot of funding, but the smaller nonprofits really struggle to raise money. So the idea was to try and help both parties, right? So that with the app basically allows someone to select, and I'm going to switch over to it just to show you it rather than talk about it. Give me a second. So the app, when you launch the app, sign in, you're going to see the one thing I don't like about the Apple TV is that you can actually see the keyboard, so you can see what I'm typing.
We won't look.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, should I not record this?
Now the world will know. Right?
Now you're retyping. So.
Yeah.
It's not legible.
So when you bring the app up, basically it's location aware. So the first thing they ask you to do is to find charities. What it'll do is based on my location, it'll find the local charities around me that I can pick to support. So I'm going to pick a couple here. I know it, like Affirmation. Pick Affirmation as a charity. I can say then add to favorites. So now I got Affirmation. It says split 100%. I can add a second charity. So I'm just going to do this quick. Pick the Metropolitan Church. Because the intent is you can pick your church, your school, or any of your favorite nonprofits or charities. Now that I picked two, it's got a 50-50 split between them. I can actually use the slider bar to change how I want the money distributed. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to leave it at 50-50. And then down below you see it tracks how much I've collected for the month for the charity, how much I've collected over a lifetime for the charity. So the intent is, user picks the charities that they care about, and then as they shop with local businesses, what we're trying to do now is work with local businesses to convince them that if they already offer discounts to their customers, is to restructure those discounts. So if I'm already offering $5 off, what we tell them to do is to do something like $4 off plus $1 to your charity. Still going to get $5 off, but now you're kind of helping the local charity. And why would a business want to do that? It's not going to cost any more. Actually, it could cost them less. We can talk about that later. But what it also does is that, now as I go to a business, the business will display a coupon like this. They have a book with multiple dollar value that they're going to give you. So it can integrate with their existing, point of sale or any system that they have. And then what the user has to do is, you'll see a scan button on the app. And what I'm going to do is hit scan, and it should be easy. All I'm going to do is scan that coupon, and it says, $1 has been received for the charity. It's going to take that $1 and it's going to split it between the two. So I wasn't paying attention, but I know I only had $1 this month, so I went up to $2. So I basically took that $1 and split it between the charities that I got set up. Now, this is where it helps the business, because the business is now donated to those charities. When I go to the charities, I can see who are the businesses that are actually helping to donate to that charity. So the businesses are getting credit for every single dollar, every single cent that they donate to those charities. And in turn, what we encourage the charities to do is to recognize both the donors, the businesses giving the donation, plus also the people helping raise the money for those charities, is to publicly recognize those people and also, support those businesses. So we want them to communicate the program to their supporters so that they shop with businesses offering small gifts. So the intent is local charities push their supporters to shop with businesses using small gifts. Their supporters shop at those businesses, earn small gifts that goes back to those charities. So it's a win for both parties. Those businesses are getting customers, customers are helping to raise money for those charities. So that's really the basis of the tool. I think I had 5 minutes. I have no idea how far I've gone. So I'm gonna stop and let you guys ask questions and we'll answer from there. Sorry, I think this gentleman had his hand first.
I'll ask one question, maybe even two. So basically, does the app require the person to go to the store, or do you sometimes work, okay, because one thing is that people like to download a lot of apps, so it's how do you make sure that they actually end up using your app on a consistent basis? Also, do you ever think about talking to their shop owners that since it's actually local, they can actually use your app as a platform to deliver their stuff to them as well, or maybe building up a platform locally so they can actually subscribe to local businesses, so that way they don't have to just, I don't want to say replace, I want to say complement.
Yeah.
So, because people are actually local and they'll be inclined to actually go to the store that they keep getting the deliveries from, but I think it could be turned something, I like the idea, but what if it became like a marketplace for local businesses for them to deliver? It's local, so shipping's pretty much cheap as it is.
Yeah, there are potential to do what you're talking about. The initial phase is really, because again, we're trying to encourage foot traffic back into downtown Royal Oak or Detroit or Midtown or wherever. We want people going in, because the reason why you want foot traffic going in, because I come into this place to get coffee, I also want them to go next door and maybe check out some of the other stores around the businesses. So we are trying to encourage people to shop local, which means physically going there rather than say buying things online.
There's nothing wrong with that. You can totally do it. Like I said, do not replace but complement. But
Yep.
one thing I was actually saying is that one thing you could do, because it's cold outside, no one's going cold, so you could put down check out these related stores that you've been going to.
I like your idea. Yeah, so it's a good thing to do. But initial phase of launch is not looking at that portion yet. We are trying to encourage foot traffic back into the communities. I'm sorry, this gentleman had.
Okay, one last question. Do you ever think about, because this could actually work if you actually use behavioral learning, the machine can actually learn what you're doing, and so that way it looks for other relative areas. So basically, it would not only just find that store you actually like, but you end up finding other similar areas, especially as you give reviews stuff like that.
The one thing which the overall system is a rewards base, and yes, it does track where you shop within a community, and there is the ability for that community to then use that data to better market to the people coming into that community. So there's more to it on the back end, which I can show you maybe afterwards. So I want to get through some of these other questions, because otherwise it sounds like you got a lot of good ideas, and I'm available to talk after. But just
how does money get from the users for the nonprofit?
okay, so the users themselves are not paying anything. The businesses are the ones that fund the system. So the businesses are basically buying donation credits. And so when they show you a donation coupon like this and you scan it, like I did, that's when the transfer of that dollar moves from the business account over to the charity's account. At the end of a quarter, we sweep up all of these small gifts. That's the reason why we call it small gifts, by the way. We're encouraging $1 to $5 type donations to make it easy for a business to do. And the intent is, say we all were supporting one of these charities and we're all out shopping throughout the metro, collecting $1 here, $2 here, $5 here. Then what we do at the end of the month is we sweep up all the money destined to one of the charities and basically issue them their check.
So is the idea that a consumer walks into a business, they pay a price for a widget, and the business marks up the widget so that they can then give the difference to the nonprofit?
Yeah, basically, yes, but we leave that decision up to each individual business. Each business decides how they market, how do they currently do their discounting right now, and that's what we said. If they're doing already $5 off, we're basically telling them they could do $4 off and $1 to the charity, so they're not incurring additional costs, right? They will have to structure the deal that's best for that particular business, because what you do in the coffee shop may be different than what you do in an auto dealer versus what you do in a retail.
So, last question. If it's the business that's actually giving money to the nonprofit, why does the user have control over how the money's allocated or how much money is donated?
This is a reward for their customers, reward their customer loyalty, to try and pull customers into that business that may want to support a particular charity. So it's really about, we are turning the model on its head. And right now you can come into even the office coffee shop and you could choose one of the charities that they've picked. We're trying to say, in order to motivate the shopper, we're saying, what do you care about? Which charities do you care about? I don't like going to McDonald's and then saying, okay, give me $1 so we can send it to Ronald McDonald House. Great charity. Or going to Wendy's and they say, we want to give it to the Wendy's Foundation. I want to pick what's important to me as a customer wherever I shop. I'm earning money for that particular charity. Because to your point earlier, in reality, the money is coming from the customer, right? I mean, like all discounts, you pay for it one way or another.
Why did you choose a platform as an app?
Why did I choose a platform? Because we have to get it in the hands of the customers that are out and about.
Well, if you're encouraging foot traffic, it's online, or wherever, you can do it anywhere, I guess, but.
Yeah, this is intended to be used like as you're checking out at a particular business. So you're carrying those charities with you wherever you go in different businesses.
Basically, what you're saying, the smartphone is the link between the cash register and the charities that you want to donate to.
Yep. Basically, this tells me the business and the amount they're willing to donate. This tells me the user and their charity. So when you match the two up, I can now figure out how much the business is donating and which charities they go to. Sorry.
Why do you need a user? Why do you need the app? You really just have to restructure what business is willing to donate to charity of the business choice.
Yeah. Well, again, we're trying to do it to where the customer is the one that decides the charity.
What's the value add there? It's more complexity, it sounds like. You do have at least different models.
Yeah, it is. Like, again, we're trying to incentivize the customer to use the system to help support the things that they care about. Because again, you could go into a lot of businesses today and they'll ask you, do you want to donate $1 to our charities?
No, but they can still present you with, here's $4 off, scan this, you're not even going there, and business donates directly to a charity of the choice. So you're clearing the house for donations between business to a charity, business get recognition on charity page, you eliminate customer, it's a simple model.
And again, this gives the flexibility that for business. So I come into that business, I walk in with my two charities, I get the $1 donation, that goes to two of my charities. Now that business gets recognized for donating to those two charities. You walk in, you have two different charities, now the business gets credit for donating to those 4 charities. Now those 4 charities, all their supporters, they can basically see these are the businesses supporting our charities, so hopefully some of those supporters will then visit your business.
But there's just nothing. You actually artificially limiting the amount of dollars the charity can receive because it's only the customers who have an app that can scan. If the business donates directly, then every single sale would result in a micropayment to the charity where the business is recognized.
Yeah.
So just alternative model.
Yeah. No, I get it. And there are other platforms that do some of those things, right? So there are ways, right? If I can go directly to the charity and donate. A lot of businesses like this they have some of those relationships already set up. We were really trying to put together a platform that any business could adopt, without a lot of infrastructure. Essentially, they're not getting any equipment. When we set them up, we give them a coupon book, they're ready to go. So we can set them up in a matter of minutes and get them up and going.
So at what point do those donated dollars actually go from the business to the charity? Is there like a certain dollar amount, like $500 or $600 before it can actually get sent?
The way we do it is that, again, we do quarterly distributions. So distributions on the 30th of March, June, September, December. And what we do is we have a minimum that those charities must accumulate for us to do a distribution to that charity. So, sorry, Mike.
I think it's actually interesting. I think the app is interesting because scaling a business like this will be difficult unless you're going business to business to business.
Yeah.
Whereas with the app, businesses effectively become a Trojan horse. So they introduce your app. So when they say if you participate in one of these charities and contribute, then the customer can immediately download the app and use the service, and then that customer then can introduce the app to other businesses.
Yeah.
So your customers become your salespeople, you hope.
Yeah, the businesses and the charities are who we hope to help us spread the news to the users, right? We go to the charities to say, if you want to make money using this particular program, you need to communicate to your supporters that they must download the app and pick your charity, because that's the only way.
What's your revenue model?
So there's two ways we make money. There's a usage fee that we charge the business. We talked about they have to buy donation credits. So when they buy donation credits, there's a fee that we charge for that. And also at the distribution side, we ask the charities to also collect from the money that we distribute to them. So there's a brokerage fee, for lack of a better term, that we charge the charities also. And we're still working on things like, whether this should go to a subscription model. The app, like you said, is beyond small gifts. Small gifts is really one piece of the app. The app is fundamentally a loyalty system. Again, every time I go in and use this, it keeps track of who's coming in the store. So the businesses actually have access to who's coming to my store, who are my loyal customers, who hasn't been in a certain amount of time, and then they can use the desktop platform to then send out emails to those folks saying, we noticed that you haven't been in for a while, come back in. So it's really a loyalty system. They can post their deals, they can post any events going on so that people have visibility to what the business is doing.
Can you streamline your business model where you remove the QR code, which I don't think the technology is as advanced as we used to thought, and have it where you do the brokerage for the nonprofits or the foundations that are looking for the donation, but and your app would be more where they can go any small business could actually access to pull that foundation that they want to donate to. Because I look at yours as a matching contribution type of app. So if you somehow streamline it where I go in as a small business, pick the foundation I want, set it up so that every time now.
Yeah, again, the difference in our model is, and that's the same question I think this gentleman was raising, is that it's not the business that decide which charities to support, it's the end user. So the end users are the ones that pick the charities that they care to support, and they're always raising money for those charities. So when I look back at my profile, I mean, I can go back and when I look at my profile, this is my view. These are the charities that I've picked, that I've raised money for over the life of the youth. So I can switch out my charities at any time, so I can support different charities at different times.
Can you do percentages, or is it just dollar amounts?
Well, again, when you do the split that I talked about,
Not percentages of an individual, but of a transaction.
No. Again, we wanted to try and keep it as simple as possible, and because it's not integrated with a point of sale system, it was easier just to keep it real simple. And that's actually what we spent a lot of time working on, the simplest way of doing the transaction at the checkout. So whatever system people have in place right now, this is, you complete your transaction, then you show the code at the end, and they scan the amount that the business is going to get.
You say you're trying to facilitate foot traffic. Would it be better if you actually had a way of actually having to do transactions through the app and then facilitate reward? Since it's local, they can just walk in and just get the reward. That's a good way to facilitate it, and plus you'll probably get a lot more donations from charities, and you'll end up getting a lot more money.
Yeah.
That could work.
Yeah.
Is your brokerage fee set value, or is it like based on a percentage such as Stripe?
It's a percentage of what we raise for the charity, is the brokerage fee that we charge the charity.
Only say Bear will be around, right?
Yeah, I will be.
So we'll got one more presentation.
Yeah, I also
and
have those cards, if you don't mind passing those cards around, but you can take a
So,
look at it and see.
again, not to cut you short, Bear will be around. We're going to bring in the second presenter here. And we don't have a time limit at this time. We'll show the presenter. You want as long as you want. All right, so the next presenter we have is, how you come up, Walid. So Walid here is got a company called Golden Products and Services, and pretty much giving cars greater fuel efficiency, performance, and durability at a lower cost. So mostly in the manufacturing. I'll set it up, and you want to introduce yourself? You stay right there. That's the way no problem. You can give it to me and I can just hold it. What function do you have? Do you know how to do that? It's usually F4.
I don't have my cards today. I can be quicker.
Protect people who shouldn't.
Oh, there. There it is.
We sometimes do this. And sometimes people that have specific
Okay, are you staying on there, Walid? Because that's where the camera is. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Walid Elsady. I'm a graduate student from Oakland University. I have a colleague of mine, Jim Fortune.
Speak up.
Me and my colleague Jim Fortune basically have a new idea for continuously variable transmission, one that will requires greater fuel efficiency, performance, and durability at a lower cost. Never mind those crazy symbols, they were just ideas, we're being creative, was in the spaceship, and this was like a student organization that we had, and basically brought down on this. Now, the team is made up of the inventor, Jen Colston, who's an MIT graduate, and he lives in Montana, and he's a very brilliant man. He has more than one idea. This is one of his ideas. Jim was an original patent. Jim Fortune was an original patent, and what happened is the patent lapsed. I don't have a speaker, so some people are talking in the back.
Talk to this guy back here.
Yeah, so basically, I recruited some people from Ford to help us with this transmission, with this idea. We did a proof of concept. We worked with Oakland University professors, and we actually worked with Mike Brennan too at the Macomb-OU INCubator. We got in at the incubator level. But I have to tell you, there's a lot of work that we have to do in order to break through. We're not even there. I mean, we've been at this for 3 years, and we spent 1 year in research and development. Then we formulated a company in summer. Then we started an LLC, and then with that, after that, we started thinking about business plan. We took an entrepreneurship class at TechTown with Pat Salo. So we got in at ground level. You got to be looking for opportunities at all time. We got in at the ground level for the Wayne State Law Clinic, Patent Law Clinic, and because they had a pilot program with 20 cities across the country for new innovation, so we were the first people in. So the patent didn't cost us a lot of money. It's a $50,000 patent, and it's still pending. We're waiting on it. So we're working with some engineering companies here. Some of this stuff may change because, of course, we need letters of grant, we need to do research. We've contacted, we entered a 9 Sigma proposal with General Motors. We submitted as we were one of the 19 finalists. We were one of the 3 people out of the 19 finalists, and we did talk with GM, their conventional transmission group, as well as General Dynamics. However, they told us they want to know more about the technology because they don't quite understand it. Now, what the technology can do, basically, it's because of all the, we're trying to solve a problem with emissions, right? Because there's going to be great penalties and the willingness of automotive companies to pay for the solution. This is the miles per gallon for cars and light trucks, according to the CAFE standards. And these are the penalties the big 3 may have to pay if they don't reach those standards. And one unique thing about the transmission is the kinetic energy recovery system. It also gets rid of the torque converter, so you use less parts. And right now, there's not a whole lot of companies. A lot of companies are trashing CVTs. Subaru is one of the only ones out there that's doing everything with a CVT or infinitely variable transmission. We have tried to reach out to Tesla and other companies, and I got to tell you, it's a long way to the top if you want to get somewhere. The concept is a trend-based design. As I mentioned, the energy management capability of this transmission is what makes it unique because you can capture the energy. So it's not necessarily just for a car. It could be for a windmill. It could power a building. There's so many applications to this that we don't know. It's kind of like you have to focus your energy to get it to work in one application. We do have a proof of concept. We're building a small-scale model. Our competitive advantage, of course, with this transmission, like I said, the kinetic energy recovery allows you to reach a lot of different ranges of gear ratio. You need a transmission controller for that, and that's energy management is a key enabler. You can reduce the engine weight and size. You can have a 4-cylinder engine act like an 8-cylinder engine with this type of transmission. And also because it allows it to perform beyond its design specifications. This is what it looks like. This is just some kind of configuration. We took out of Volvo. We give them credit for that. The CVT would go in here. You might need a flywheel to get the regenerative energy, and that's one of the things we have to prove out. And these are all the actual components from other parts of the transmission. So the full range, here's the competitive advantage. You can have torque matching, you can do constant revolutions per minute. We can meet and exceed the performances of other CVTs at a cost-efficient value because it gets expensive. CVTs can typically be expensive, as well as dual clutch transmissions. That's what the automotive industry wants to go into, but they also have issues. They're known to have issues. The earlier part of 2008 to 2010, CVTs were failing at 50,000 miles because due to the belts. This thing has no belt. It's a can-based design. It's a can. Okay. So basically, it allows for better acceleration, fuel efficiency, smaller size of the engine, regenerative braking, low weight, okay, and cost, greater reliability, and superior towing. And those are just some of the advantages that we can come up with. What we've done, as I mentioned, the proof of concept, we're doing 3D printing, we're doing software simulation, we do use SolidWorks, and we're trying to do a reduced size model. And we're automating our proof of concept right now. And so it has plexiglass, we made it out of wood and aluminum, and it took us about 9 months to make. And now we're going to make a smaller size model. And the thing is to put it in something like a go-kart or a lawnmower, something to show that it's working. ATV, all-terrain vehicle, just like the Honda. Some of their CVTs, earlier ones that they had, I believe was in a all-terrain vehicle. Then it went into full production. So you got to have funding, you got to have money. This is not a game for the weak-hearted. It takes time, it takes energy. I didn't get all this gray hair for anything. I meant end up bald like this guy, because of the time that we spent on this. We spent a lot of time. The patent has improved. As I mentioned, we've talked to all these companies. Volvo's the only other company that has anything quite like this, and they're launching it actually this year, 2016. So we're a very new concept. Now you're competing with a big global company like Volvo. How do you survive? It's a very tough thing. We can't do it unless we get some funding. We need investments. And we're taking the challenges. We need to add a business person to our group to help us with the marketing. We have done a website as well. What I can tell you is basically just to show you some of the things that we've done. Here's a newsletter that was done by Open University for the Macomb-OU about our group, and that was in August, and the patent is still pending. We're still waiting. It's been like 2 years, and we had a rejection letter. I got to tell you, it's nerve-wracking. It's really tough. This isn't easy. If it was easy, anybody would do it, but you have to follow your dreams, no matter where it might take you. And you have no idea how many times we wanted to quit, but we're now being innovative. We're developing our services. We're doing IT and engineering work to support the product. And we don't want just one product, but multiple products that we're looking at. And we're partnering up with some companies, like an ATV company, and we're trying to get into various other technologies. This is on Oakland's website. We've also done a one-pager. You see that? So basically, this shows you the progression of when we started, what we're doing, where this transmission fits in. This is a picture of what it looks like. You see that? Out of wood and aluminum. Okay? And we basically put a belt on the other side just to show you the gears. Other than that, we've also, Oakland University has been helpful. They've written an SAE paper on this, and actually we filed before they wrote the SAE paper, okay, and then the SAE paper came out, and it came out after we filed, the first to file, March of 2013. And what it did for us was basically give us a boost, and it was really great working with the university. We also did the Michigan Clean Energy Venture Challenge. We did a presentation at U of M, and I've talked to GM Venture, but currently nobody wants to invest because we need more development. We need to create a transmission, a working application. You can't just sell something out of nothing. Even like the gentleman before that was telling you he's got to sell his idea. Well, it doesn't make you any money until you sell it. And that's the hard part, is the sell, the marketing. What do you do? And then it took us over a year to just do business cards. And we also did a website. So we have a website, and I can tell you, I have this company certified. EIN number, SIC, NICUS, and codes, Duns and Bradstreet, certified as a small company. We've done our homework in terms of we're engineers, but we just don't have the business acumen. If we had a business drive behind us and a marketing goal, and it's hard for me to push my engineers, my colleagues, because everybody works other jobs, and we don't get paid any money to do this. And you can only imagine how we've been hanging on for 3 years, and I think we made like $5,000-6,000 this year, which is not really much out of IT work. And I've given up $100,000 jobs for this. I finished my master's at Oakland, December of 2011, and I've been doing research for the feasibility of this. So I can tell you, it's not easy, and nothing in life that's worth doing is ever easy. It's a lot of hard work. When you get through it and you finish your master's or whatever it is, in life that you're pursuing, you'll feel great about yourself. We're still not out of the woods yet, and we don't know whether we'll survive, because just having an idea is great, but what do you do with it if nobody wants it, if you can't market it, if we don't get the business people? There's so many things that could go wrong. And I tell you, I sit down and I've written like over 20 pages of things that we need to implement and do, and we just don't have enough time to do them all. And we're trying to be as organized as possible. We've done the 3D printing. We got the CNC machine in our shop. We're actually, we had an office and a cube, and now we're downsizing from the office, and we're just going to have the cube due to funding and due to the fact that you get a limited amount of time at an incubator, like 3 years. But if it's research and development, it's more like 5 to 7 years. So we're evaluating that right now. It's a lot different than ideas that have been rolling, or something that you have a prototype, you have letters of intent, and companies that are willing to fund it. That's the hard part. That's the sell. How do you do that? So we know it's difficult. We know it's hard. We know you guys are entrepreneurs. I'm telling you it's hard. But I've been doing this for 3 years, and I still haven't given up. And I'm starting to look for engineering jobs now, because I need to support my dream, and because I can't just sit back and watch us not have enough funds to do some of these things. And they do offer things at the Macomb-OU, like a matching fund. You got to put in your $5,000, they match that $5,000, but we need a whole lot more money than that to create a really decent prototype. And the fact of the matter is, it's I don't know if I showed this, but show it real quick. Well, this is, I was just showing you the actual idea. Is it's a cam, either it's an inner cam or an outer cam, and that's the uniqueness about this one, is it does both push and pull from the transmission cable. So it can provide you with smooth energy recovery and fuel efficiency, and it has the potential to almost get rid of whatever potential transmission issue that may exist. If somebody would invest in this thing could really do a lot for us. The one thing I want to see here. Here's some of the concept behind it. I don't want to really get too technical on it, but here's a motor, here's your chain sprockets, the cam. This is an outer cam, it's hollow, but you can make it with an inner cam as well, and you almost have to make this like indestructible. And there's a lot of things in terms of research that you need to do with this, because it's coating, not just coating for friction, but also nanomaterial that you can get from California. So we can get grants to do that, and here's one of our newer models for the balanced transmission. It looks kind of intricate, but you can see that this thing, we can actually condense it, and you can actually put it at a wheel. You can have it run on each wheel if you wanted to. So the configurations of the design is unlimited of how you can design it. This is the last thing I wanted to say. We claim that it helps with fuel efficiency by 25%, and double the acceleration. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. There's a lot of competitors out there. There's a lot of companies that you can be competing with. We have a leading-edge technology. We're looking to either sell the patent put it into an ATV, any type of application, go-kart, you name it, that'll work. We're looking for strategic partners for non-US patents. So we're still doing that, and Volvo, like I mentioned, was the only other company that had some questions. I
So
don't know
what
if
is your
that's-
ask? What is your ask? And are you looking for members? Are you looking for marketing person? Are you looking?
Oh
for
yeah, we need business
funding?
people. We need business people. We need marketing. We need to get investors to invest in this, but we also need to work on the technology. And so it's both. The tough part about what we're doing is we got to develop the technology, okay, and then you also have to develop the business. So we do have a business plan, and we got to always modify that. It's a changing animal, and as well as the model. What model do you present? There's throwaway models. You got to get the right model in front of the right people. You know what I mean? And that's why we're trying to get a reduced size model, so I can take it around and knock on doors, you know, an electric motor, and show it to companies and say, look, we have a working concept. What do you guys think?
As someone has done this for 7, 8 years now, I can tell you, you've done this for 2, 3 years in engineering.
Yeah.
You know, getting a small prototype and being able to get that first sale, that first contract, it's probably more than getting that patent because that's costly. So having that one sale will probably be more meaningful because you can actually bring some type of funding for that.
Right.
Because if you show one person who wants to buy it, you pretty much got an investor interest in looking at it.
Right. And we're not even looking to launch till like 2018. This is all development work because it's like a bell curve. It takes a while for the life cycle of the product. Along the way, you got to test it. You got to test the parts. You got to test. You got to get real data to back up what you're saying. You know, so
Have you done any customer discovery?
The thing is with the customer discovery, we're basing it on the needs of automotive and also the environment, the EPA for emissions. We think everybody wants to go green.
Well, that's how everybody thinks.
From a maintenance standpoint, I'll put you this way, you can maintain the CVT a lot easier than current technology. And it uses lesser parts, so.
You know, at Lawrence State University, next week, on January 19th, they have a new program starting, Customer to Cash, C2C. It's a free program funded by Lawrence State and Southfield, City of Southfield.
Okay.
You should go for that.
Okay.
And that's where you can prove.
Maybe can you email me on that?
We can talk afterwards. And anybody who wants to go, they can go to Lawrence State website and C2C. That's the program. But that's where you can validate your idea. But you still seem to be at the concept stage.
It's very
so you are
different.
still too early.
Yes, and I can tell you, even with the Macomb-OU incubator backing us up,
but so
there's more criticism when you're trying to do something. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step. If we're going to sit here and knock it down, we're never going to go anywhere. We have to develop the technology. We have to test it.
No.
We have to market it. We need a business person. We need investors. You're correct.
No, here is the thing I want to tell you.
But
I am working as a technology mentor on an ICOR team too, at the University of Michigan. Now, they always say, don't worry about the technology. First, try to find the customers who want it.
Right.
Don't go too far into the technology.
Well, we have looked at some
and
of the
then
customers.
waste hundreds of thousands of dollars,
Right.
and you will see nobody wants to buy it.
Well, like we've talked to GM, okay, and the transmission group, and they're like, we don't quite understand this. And General Motors actually asked us to do a free analysis of our transmission with another transmission out of Canada. It's called Curtrain. Curtrain is being used by TACOM in military vehicles. Okay, and we did an analysis for GM. GM said they're not going to use Curtrain. It's good for the military, but it doesn't suit GM's needs. But they said we still don't quite understand your transmission. That's because we didn't want to show them the technology. If we showed them the technology, they're going to take the technology and do it. So we'd rather have a master contract or do an NDA and go down a certain road with them. And that was hard dealing with GM. They're like, well, get a prototype. Same thing with GD. GD is like, build the transmission and then come to us. We'll buy 10 of them. We'll set you up with Allison. And Allison is with the government. They're almost set up not to fail because the government helps them because you need to for military vehicles.
2 more questions. Any more?
Yes.
Do you have an animation of what this does?
We do have an animation.
But you don't want to show anybody because you're afraid somebody's
No, we have an
gonna-
animation. We did show them the animation. It's still not quite easy. It's like takes 9 pages to describe it, how it actually functions. I mean, it is a technology. It's a unique technology. It's based off a 1940s technology from a gentleman named Schultz. I believe it was made for tank technology. And what happened is I think this one really is better suited for heavier equipment. I think it's easier to put it into heavier equipment.
Because it has better torque capabilities?
It
or
has
something?
better torque capability. That's the whole thing.
I mean, there
So,
must be
you know-
some secret sauce in this that you need to sell, right?
Well, yeah, it's hard to find that magic formula, like I said. And that's why our target focus has changed somewhat, because we said, let's go for automotive. Well, you can't just go for automotive. Automotive's not going to give you a chance. You got to prove it to yourself. You got to show it to yourself that, hey, this is reliable, this works. I can show you it works in a go-kart application. I can show you it works in a lawnmower. And then you can say, wow, okay, that's cool. Let's take it to the next level. And then people will be interested. People would say, I want to invest, I want to put money into it. Go ahead.
I get the feeling that you're communicating from the engineering background instead of communicating from their perspective. Most people, when they actually, most people working in big organizations, it's all about either in the battle model or in their corporate goals. I get the feeling that you're so deep into your invention that you can't really see.
No, yeah, and you're correct about that. But you realize it takes a team of 400 engineers to design a transmission. So I got a skeleton crew of 4 engineers. So you know how much stress we have? A ton of stress. Plus, to do the business aspect of this is the hardest thing I've ever had to pull off in my life. It's harder than working for any corporation in my entire life.
Yeah.
So just so you know.
If you didn't have a dream and you weren't motivated, you wouldn't even do that much work.
Right.
I understand. You have to be motivated.
Yes, you have to be motivated. You got to have passion, and it's not easy.
And the thing is, you have to make it extremely easy for your customers to
Right.
buy.
That's the other thing too. And we've gone through many iterations. We went through a lot of presentation, and it's still. That's why I like giving a presentation, because it helps us with our capability. We hear what the audience has to say. We get some feedback, and then we go back and change our presentations to meet whatever needs that we need for the time being, whether it's business or marketing or investors. And like I said, we're in the midst of trying to get this prototype built. We have a proof of concept. We're automating it. We're doing a reduced size model, so one of us can work with a business or marketing manager to market it out in the industry while we're developing the transmission on our own. Because nobody's just going to give you an easy buck. Nobody's just going to give you your money. It's a hard thing. We're almost like a Dyson company. So it's not easy.
You're also dealing with big corporate accounts, and when I first started off, I don't know how to be honest, like about 6 or 8 months ago, I got like a corporate lead who was interested in what I was actually doing, and I hear from a lot of freelancers it takes like, let's just say a very long time for a corporate lead to actually say, hey, we want to buy. It could take like 5 years.
Yeah, I mean.
So you do have that working against you.
Right, and there's a lot of things working against us, but we're.
So let's go ahead and there are a couple other questions. Would you guys mind? He's actually going to stay a little while. We're going to kind of wrap this so that way we can start on the networking part. And appreciate. Let's give Walid a hand. So pretty much what we're going to do now is right now we kind of want to announce a couple of events that are coming up. I know that there are a few entrepreneurship events that are coming up. DNewTech, they normally have their events every third Tuesday every month.
Tuesday.
So it'll be downtown Ann Arbor. They got over 4,000 members, twice as big as us, and they tend to have a really good grasp of what mostly technology based, but companies that are out there that are pitching ideas. I know also next week at the Detroit Auto Show, January 13th, they have a pitch competition there at Macomb-OU. I don't know if you may call it Macomb-OU anymore, but they call it Connect the Dots, but it's a pitch competition.
Front Street.
It's on what?
Front Street.
Front Street. So, I mean, I don't know if there's a cost to attend, but again, listening to other people pitch, hearing what they've done, I mean, that's something that you can actually learn from. Sam?
I actually manage that platform, so I can
Go ahead.
Yeah, do you want me to tell everybody about it?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's called 5x5. It's a program that was launched out of Star Garden in Grand Rapids. It's a collaborative workspace that the boss started in 2012, and so it's a like a very, very micro loan funding pitch competition. $5,000 get awarded to each recipient at the end of the month. So these ideas are actually submitting online, sharing through their social network, and then a week before the competition, we see who the 5 winners are based on votes, and then we invite them to a pitch competition. So there's going to be 5 startup companies that are actually pitching on the 13th in Detroit, and one of those people is actually going to walk away with $5,000 of unstipulated money. They could literally go travel with this money if they wanted to.
Well, actually, I think this falls along with what Start Garden used to do a year ago and beyond. Is that every week they were investing $5,000 in startup companies. Again, there was a stipulation that you had to return after a month to kind of show what you've done with the money. So anyway, that's one event. I know there's another one next month. We meet the first Wednesday every month. We're going to be at Benzinga. I don't know if you heard of Benzinga, but they're pretty much a financial company, a startup by Jason. Brennan. Anyways, they're going to be right at CompuWare at the One Woodward. Again, everything's free. Come out. They're going to have pizza, drinks. It's right there in the CompuWare building.
This group next month?
Next month, this group. Yeah. Anybody else has events that you want to share?
Well, there's ACE, Annual Collaboration for Entrepreneurship.
Where's that going to be at?
That is no longer at the Weston and
okay, Weston and Southfield, guys. What date? Does anyone know?
26th, Tuesday.
Tuesday, January 26th?
26th is 1:30 to 5 o'clock.
And they not only have pitch competitions, but they actually have seminars too, so you can actually participate. I know there's a you have to pay to go to that event.
Yeah, that's.
It's about $25.
Again, there's a lot. Actually, there's a website that you want to go to. It's called Michipreneur, which is pretty much Michigan Entrepreneurs Combined.org. And there's a lot of events that go through the state of Michigan in regards to entrepreneurship. So,
yeah, ACE is worth going to just for the food. But they also have this consultant corridor where you can have 20 minutes of free advice from different people of different specialties.
Okay, so with that, you guys have any? Yes.
I don't work for Lawrence Technology, but I just want to tell people, Barry, you can speak for that. But Barry and I, we were together on different teams.
Okay.
And he went through 10-week program.
Yeah,
so it's a good program for anybody who has a pre-prototype, a good concept idea, and they have 10-week coaching for finding customers, building your prototype. It is funded by Lawrence Tech and Southfield, City of Southfield. It's free, and they have $10,000 rewards. At the end of the 10-week, you make a presentation, and you come out of through that process what Barry did.
Yeah.
And where he started and where he is today, he can tell you.
The important thing is about that customer discovery, right? One of the requirements is you go out and you talk to 100 different business or users or whoever you think your customers are. So having a conversation with one customer is okay, and you're going to get one perspective. But as you talk to multiple customers, you're going to get all of their feedback to help you refine what it is you're doing. So that's what I got the most out of that program, is that I was already talking to customers, but they gave you a very structured approach about how you go and talk to your customers, how you create your business model canvas, and then validate all the different stages in your business model canvas. And the nice thing at the end of it is that first place got $3,000, $2,000, $1,000 for third. So.
And then to Barry's point and your point, there's a lot of programs out there that I wouldn't say that cost money, just apply and you never know. I know TechTown has spread not only to technology, but now retail and food. So there's different programs out there. And hopefully you'll be able to talk to some of the people who've gone through those programs. So with that, we're going to just end it. Again, we stick around. I think there's pizza. Mike, he just came. He's the owner of the office coffee shop. Yeah. So please say something. We want to say thank you. Let's give him a round of applause. Is there anything you want to say?
All I'd like to say is that thanks for everybody coming out, supporting everybody's causes with startups. It takes a lot, as everybody's mentioned. If anybody has any questions or anything that, there's a lot of people that are working out of here that are doing small businesses and different things of that nature. So if anybody needs a hand, there's a lot of natural, organic networking taking place on a regular basis. So come on in and catch up.
One thing I forgot to mention, following up on Barry's app, every app transaction here donates a portion of the proceeds to water.org, Wigs for Kids, Forgotten Harvest, or Team Joseph. So, trying to get back to the community as well.
Are you using theirs small gift?
We do not. We do not.
I'm just saying.
I'd love to talk to her.
Yeah, that's why I asked my percentage question.
So please, we're on LinkedIn with the community there. We've got a Facebook page. We've got a Twitter account. We've got an Instagram. If you follow any of us on social media, you'll see the backs of your heads because we were sharing and tagging as many of you as we could tonight. So follow us and come back and see us. We'd love to host you again.
Yeah, for anybody that had websites or emails to share with the group, you can post it to the meetup site in the comment section so everybody can have the actual link that you need to share. But it's going to, again, that's public, so share accordingly.
So again, thank you very much and drive safely and have a good night. Hey, Alex, hey, did you know that you might want to Speaking of